Is everybody today? Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy spectacular Saturday. Happy super Saturday. Whatever it is for you. Happy Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me on my live. We're on part 4 of The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr. I hope everyone is doing amazing so far. I do have my timer here. Let me make sure this isn't all loud or anything. So, how is everybody doing today? You know I'm listening. I would love to hear how you're doing so I could send you some good, amazing, positive, loving, wonderful vibes for an amazing weekend. Hi, Lala Denise. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to set the timer here in a few seconds for the 5 minutes to talk. Thank you for being here, Lala Denise. You are my lovely leader today, so please hold down the fort. Okay, we're going to talk for 5 minutes and then we'll get into reading. How is everybody doing today? I do have my notebook with some notes. Okay, so first off, I would just like to start off by saying thank you to anyone and everyone that sees or joins any of my lives. If you watch any of my videos, please know I am super, super grateful all the time. You have no idea how grateful I am for you. I always hope you guys are doing amazing. Let me know, comment on any of my videos and let me know. I would love to send you guys some more amazing, loving, wonderful vibes. Okay, I noticed in another one of my lives, I always cut myself off. I'll say, welcome to Natalie's book club where I talk for 5 minutes and read for 10. I'm currently on this, and then I'll just go off of someone's comment or something. So I want to get it right. Thank you for joining me for Natalie's book club where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. We are currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr., which is my father. After this book, hello from Illinois. Hi, Jesse. Thank you for joining me. Please remember to check the last 5 minutes, okay? If you're not here for the whole live, please check the last 5 minutes. So thank you for joining me for Natalie's book club where we talk for 5 minutes and we read for 10 minutes. You are pretty. Thank you. I appreciate it. We are currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr., which is my father. And the next book is Project 369. I am so excited to start this book with you guys. You have no idea. If this was not my father's book, I would just be like, let's start this. Because I'm serious. I am so ready to start this book. I am going to let you guys know, as soon as we start this book, please bring a piece of paper and a pen or a notebook. You will need it. So thank you guys for joining me for Natalie's book club where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10. You will need a notebook or at least a piece of paper when we start this book. I would like to do the activities together. So how is everybody doing? Hello there. What's your biggest regret in life? Man, do you have an hour to talk about it? I'm just kidding. You know, sometimes with regrets, you can't choose what happens to you in life, right? You can't choose it. So you can't choose what to be regretful for. You need to be strong, mentally prepare yourself. Remember, you can do anything you set your mind to. Remember that. Hello, hello, everybody. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Videos Legayes. Hi, Peter. Hi, everybody. Books are for in prison. No, books are for your mind. The more you read, the more intelligent you'll get, I promise. More no Brazil. I'm not from Brazil, but hello to everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. I am super grateful you guys are here. We're currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr. How is everybody doing today? I hope you're amazing. I hate books. That sucks. I love books. You should read more. It'll do you good. I promise. Thank you guys for joining my live. Thank you for the likes and thank you for the hearts. I appreciate you guys. I hope everyone is doing amazing on this spectacular Saturday. On my next 5 minutes of talking, we're going to go over, I'm going to ask you guys some questions, so be ready. I know I always say Marvelous Monday, Terrific Tuesday, but I would like to hear your guys' opinions. I want to know what you want me to call Marvelous Monday, Motivational Monday, Terrific Tuesday. Sometimes I have ticked off Tuesdays. Do you guys ever get ticked off on a Tuesday? I've been there. Is Atomic Habits a good book? I'm not sure, but I will take suggestions on other books after we finish my dad's book and after we read the next book. After that, I will definitely be taking suggestions because I want to read what you guys want to read. I would love to involve you guys more in all that I do and all that I read. How to get hooked with book. I start but can't continue reading. Give any tips? Yes. You have to remember that when you're reading, you have to shut off everything else. Everything else is irrelevant. Put yourself in that book. Be there. Live it. Pretend it's you. Whoever the main character is, pretend it's you. Live it. Feel the feelings. If you can get through a little bit, you can get through the end. Then you'll want to read more. That's how I started reading. I was like, reading sucks. I hate reading. And then I read a book fully and I felt some of the things the author was writing. I thought it was beautiful. So then I kept reading. And now I love to read. I read every day, at least 20 minutes every single day. That's what I would recommend. Hi, Mr. Humble himself. Thank you for joining. I am so grateful that you're here. Please remember, guys, if you can't make the full live, please come back at the last 5 minutes. I would like you to hear at least my shout outs if you can't join the whole thing. All right, let's get into it. 10 minutes of reading. Please remember to be respectful in the chat because I can't see it the whole time. Thank you for any and all of my lovely leaders that are here. Again, please be respectful. I would really appreciate it. All right, 10 minutes. Let's get to it. Hello, Peekaboo. Thank you for joining. All right, here we go. He said, not at all. I think that's a very good thing. I think a man should be well protected at all times. There's nothing wrong protecting your belongings. I kind of felt he had something else on his mind. As he took us around the village on a small tour, he said, we really don't get too many visitors here. I said, we mean you no harm. You can rest assured. He said, I'm a very old man. I have nothing to fear. We walked the whole village while we were there. Then he gave me a strange look when I asked him, where is your cemetery? I didn't notice it anywhere. He pointed at a hut that looked like a mausoleum. Then he stopped to rest and called for his 2 sons. They were community leaders of this small village. As we got near it, I said, so who's buried in this one? They said, all that have died, it's our entire lineage. This was something unusual that I had learned. Their culture was different than others I've known. This burial chamber was filled with vases or urns. They held the ashes of their dead, but no bones. I said, this mausoleum must contain a lot of history. Then one of the sons said, yes, this village is very old. This place holds so many treasures of our ancestry, but not like any of the treasures that you may know. So much knowledge and wisdom rest in these jars, and from generation to generation they are taught. Now our ancestors are as numerous as the stars, and someday we too will join them in our own spot. I was curious as to why they had adopted this way, but who am I to say how you should bury the dead? Then I asked them why, but they were reluctant to say. We must make our way back now, is what they said. As we started back, a strange man came walking by. He introduced himself as Chen, the medicine man. This was his home, but he went from tribe to tribe. He asked, what brings you to this far-off, distant land? I said, we have come here to get away for a while. We're just looking for a little peace and tranquility. Then he turned and looked at the village and smiled. He said, yeah, you won't find this in your big city. He said some things that were out of the ordinary, but I paid no attention to the comments he made. Then I asked him, why don't you have a cemetery? It was a simple question that he would too evade. Suddenly I heard drums echoing in the distance as we were approached by the chief's daughter. We were invited to a special feast. We didn't resist. We would all dine that night over the moonlit water. After that, we were asked to join in their festivities. They even suited us in their traditional native dress. There was a celebration throughout the community. We were utterly astonished. We were so impressed. My wife and I spent a lot of time on our endeavors, but mostly working. We never had this much fun. We were really enjoying this time we had together. So much so, our 2 weeks lasted nearly a month. Almost every night, we'd hear drum beats from afar, and sometimes even accompanied by a tribal horn. We were so far from our world, like being on Mars, so isolated from all that, but certainly not forlorn. We had actually been married for 20 years up to then, and the rigors of our work seemed a lifetime away. We were having a great time, and I didn't want to end. We made the most of our time together, of every day. I spent some time talking to the old medicine man, and my wife spent some time with the women there. Our vacation was much better than we had planned. Even though our work was piling up, we didn't care. One day, the medicine man asked to see my gun. He asked if I'd take time to show him how to shoot. We went the next morning with the rising of the sun, and off we went, me and Mr. Chen, my new recruit. Afterward, he offered to clean my gun for me, and that he would be offended if I were to say no. I told him I don't want to offend you, so I agreed. Then he said, I'll have it back to you in an hour or so. After nearly a month of perfect bliss, one night it changed. Oddly enough, there happened to be a full moon. Yes, it was unusual, but not that noticeably strange. The villagers were a little timid. They called it taboo. I paid no attention to it. Everything was so surreal. Then I heard distant drums echoing in the night. Suddenly, I saw people running in from their fields, and frightfully I knew that something wasn't right. In a state of confusion, the villagers ran everywhere. Suddenly, the echoing of drums had ceased. Then the chief announced that we must all prepare. Then he said, the creature, it's coming. It's the beast. I asked the chief to explain what was going on. All I saw was sheer terror on the villagers' faces. Then I realized that we'd been hiding all along. Could my suspicions be true, and of all the places? Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of it as it approached. It was the scariest thing I'd ever laid my eyes upon. As it ran through the fields, it stayed in the shadows. 1 second I could see it, and the next it was gone. The men got their spears. They weren't going to run. I looked at my wife and said, my God, it's here too. I said, go inside, as I ran to the truck to get my gun. When I got there, my wife said, it's right behind you. I grabbed my weapon, then I quickly turned around. I felt a sudden jolt, and the gun flew out of my hand. I tried to find the gun as I crawled along the ground. I knew without a weapon, I wouldn't stand a chance. Suddenly, the creature got a hold of one of my legs. I felt it snap as it tossed me around like a rag doll. I almost lost consciousness when I hit my head. Then the creature jumped on me as I tried to crawl. Then I screamed in pain as it clawed at my back. I almost fainted because the pain was so severe. I struggled to get away. Then I heard a loud whack. I tried to see what it was, but my vision wasn't clear. Somebody somehow got the creature off of me, and by the looks of it, they had used a large board. It was a little discombobulated. I could barely see, but when I saw who it was, all I said was, my Lord. I couldn't believe it. My wife had come to my rescue. I could see it was her, though the light was very dim. One of the village men said, what is she trying to do? His wife said, oh my God, she's trying to save him. The creature immediately turned its attention to her, and for a few seconds I lost them in a cloud of dust. Then yelling and screaming followed shortly after as the villagers used their spears to stab and thrust. I lay there just trying to clear my head, still in a daze. Then I saw its shadow in the moonlight. It was big. I had to get to my wife, so I tried to make my way. Then I grabbed my leg. It felt like a snapped twig. Suddenly, I heard what sounded a lot like thunder, simultaneously with some bright lights flashing. I felt so helpless because of the state I was under, and from what I saw, the beast was still thrashing. Most of the men were now engaged in the battle. I lay there motionless with a ringing in my ears. I could see them as they fought in the shadows. I later found out that they had silver-tipped spears. I heard more shots being fired, but I couldn't move. Suddenly, the creature fell and let out a terrible cry. My wife suddenly emerged, and then she fell too, as I quickly crawled to her to see if she was all right. Then I said, "Why would you risk your life for me?" She said, "I had to help. I couldn't just stand there." Then I noticed that she was struggling to breathe. She had been badly bitten. Blood was everywhere. I had held her in my arms. The love of my life was dying. I said, "Don't you die on me, girl. I can't make it alone." She looked at me and said, "You're going to be fine." Before passing out, she said, "Please take me home." She was bleeding a lot from the cuts on her back. Some of the men picked us up as the crowd roared. They carried us to the medicine man's little shack as the others cut up the beast with a silver sword. They added wood to the fire they had sustained. Then they took the beast and hurled it into the pit. Everyone stayed until only the ashes of it remained. They all said, "That's the only sure way to get rid of it." My wife was unconscious, but she was still bleeding. Then the old medicine man rushed into the room. He had a container of mud that he was kneading. Then I asked him, "What the heck are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to cover her wounds with this mud." I asked him, "What's the purpose of this application?" He said, "This helps draw the poison from the blood. It also thickens the blood to slow down circulation." Then one of the women brought me a cup of tea. The medicine man had me drink the whole cup. He was tending to my wounds when I fell asleep. As I slept, all of my wounds were bandaged up. When I awoke, he was tending my wife's wounds as some of the villagers were beating their drums. Then I heard other drums far across the lagoon. I asked, "What does it mean?" He said, "Help comes." Oh my gosh, you guys. I would try to save my husband too, I'm not gonna lie, but all right, let me put these 5 minutes before I get ahead of myself. Thank you guys all for joining me for Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. We are currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr., which is my father. Next, we are going to get into Project 369, The Key to the Universe. I am so ready to read this for you guys. You have no idea. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for the likes. I am so grateful. I caught myself when I saw the comment, "Diddy, you in the wrong place," anonymous. Hello, Blackpink Aura. Great reading. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Mr. Humble himself. Hi, Jesse Torres. Thank you. Yes, please hit the like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for the likes. If you guys can't watch the whole live, please come back in the last 5 minutes. I always do my shout outs then, and I would be really grateful if you could at least watch the last 5. How are you guys doing today on this spectacular Saturday? I'm listening. Let me know. I would love to hear. How's everybody's weekend? What's everybody up to? I can't drink too much water because water goes through me like a fountain. Just like if you were to turn on a faucet and it goes right out. I don't know why or how, but it does. Thank you guys for joining my live. I am so grateful for you guys. You have no idea. Every single day, I pray for you guys and I send you guys good vibes for happiness, love, kindness, happiness. I already said happiness, but extra happiness. You're sick, so nothing? All right, we're all going to pray for you and we're all going to send you extra special vibes so you heal quickly and you feel better soon. I know being sick sucks, so I'm well, can't complain, watching the game and listening to you. It rained, so I didn't do much today. Sometimes rainy days are nice when the house is clean and you can just chill. Other days, it's a drag because you want to go out and have fun. But I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you guys. Hello, Giovanni. Ciao. Gracias por estando aquí en mi live. I wanted to remind you guys that when you focus on the good gets better. I know it's easier said than done. I have my bad days too. I couldn't go live last week. Friday caught up to me faster than, I don't even know, faster than a road runner. I know that. That's a fact. I was ready. I was prepared. I was so busy with work. And then when I got off, one of my friends asked me for a ride. And by the time I was done, I just didn't have the energy. Like life caught up to me like it does for everyone. But don't focus on the negative. Focus on the positive. And I promise when you focus on the positive, everything gets better. I sound crazy, you look crazy, but thank you for being here. I appreciate you commenting because it shows engagement in my live. Thank you. I forgot the game's on. What game are you guys watching? My dad's out there watching a game. I could go ask him, but I don't want to bother him. It's his weekend too, right? He's chilling. Remember, guys, my mom just had knee surgery, so she can't be doing much. It's been 3 weeks now. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of changes. I've been doing the household laundry, all the cooking and cleaning. But I'm grateful that I can be here for my mom, because who else is going to do it? You know, so I'm super grateful, and I'm thankful to God for all the energy that he gives me in order to get everything done, and that I'm not just, buying crappy food every day. So that's nice. NBA playoffs. I am so grateful that you're here, even though the playoffs are going on. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. Even if you guys watch the recap, I am super, super grateful. Love them braids. Thank you. They are really long now. When I let my hair down, it's past my butt. But it's hot. When I have my hair down, I sweat a lot easier, and then my hair gets really poofy if it's humid. So I get a little insecure about my poofy hair if it gets a little too poofy, You have my number? Prove it. Call me right now. I'm just kidding, James. I know you don't have my number. But I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Thank you so much for joining Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. Again, we are on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr. And next is Project 369, The Key to the Universe. Remember, we will need at least a piece of paper or a notebook and pen when we start this book. I will be doing it with you guys together. We'll be doing affirmations every day and spreading positivity. So remember, that's up next. I wish I could start it now, but I would like to finish my dad's book at least. Thank you all for being here, especially on a Saturday night. You guys have no idea how grateful I am for you. Thank you, Lala Denise. Please remember to be positive. Yes, thank you. I am so grateful for you. Let me do this really quick. Mr. Humble himself, I'm gonna, thank you guys. Hello. Hi to my sister, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. Even if you just stop in, I love you guys so much. Say hello to the kids for me too. I appreciate you. All right, you guys, we're getting into the next 10 minutes. Oh, Stephanie, Lala Denise is G. Okay, so then we're going to get into the next 10 minutes of reading. Please remember to be respectful in the chat. You guys know I can't see it while I'm there. So please, if you're here for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, I am so grateful, and I'm always praying for you guys. Let's get into the next 10 minutes of The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr. When I awoke, he was tending to his wife's wounds as some of the villagers were beating their drums. Then I heard other drums far across the lagoon. I asked, "What does it mean?" He said, "Help comes." Apparently, this is their method of communication. I had been there all this time and I wasn't aware. By beating on a drum, they can reach civilization, because in a matter of hours, a chopper was there. All the time we were here, when we heard the drums, they were communicating like the Pony Express. They had already known where we had come from. This I had finally realized, but only after our distress. I asked, "How soon will you know if the mud works?" He said, "It takes a few minutes for it to take effect. After an hour, if she doesn't begin to shake and jerk, then we'll know for sure if she has been infected." I attentively watched him, and it seemed rather odd. I said I had never seen this technique used before. He said, "It works very well, but you can also use sod." I asked him, "Can you teach me? I want to know more." He said, "What I know took a lifetime for me to learn, but I'll answer all of your questions before you go." I asked, "So why was the creature cut up and burned?" He said, "This way it can't be dug up by wild animals." I asked, "Why was the sword they used silver-tipped? Even the spears were tipped from what I could tell." He said, "It weakens the evil creature from the crypt. Even the bullets in your gun were tipped as well." I said, "Silver-tipped bullets in my gun? No, they're not." He said, "Colt 45 short revolver? Well, they are now." I said, "Are you telling me that you fired those shots? You actually tipped the bullets in my gun? But how?" He said, "Remember, I borrowed it to have it cleaned? I had it replaced with tips of your bullets right then, with the tips of your bullets right then." I asked him, "But why? How could you have foreseen?" He said, "It's just a matter of time before it happens." He said, I did it to protect you. Don't be concerned. You're no stranger to this. You should have known. Take from this experience what you've just learned. You can't kill the beast with just sticks and stones. He said, remember, there are two elements involved. One is part animal or creature, the other is part man. But throughout history, this creature has evolved. There is something about it that I don't understand. Suddenly, our conversing was frightfully interrupted when my wife screamed and started to convulse. Just then, I thought my wife was better. She erupted. I held her to try to calm her down, but she repulsed. Suddenly, the medicine man called for some help. Then 4 men rushed in quickly and held her down. I said, wait a minute, I can hold her down myself. As soon as I said that, she threw me to the ground. She started screaming and shaking uncontrollably. This was an episode, something that I knew so well. Then she looked at my face and I said, baby, it's me. I didn't believe it. My wife was now under a spell. Then he quickly approached her, smoking a cigar. He took a puff and then blew smoke in her face. This was the strangest thing I'd ever seen by far, and what happened next left me totally amazed. Almost in an instant, her jerking and shaking quit, as I sat there for a second, not knowing what to do. Then I asked, what kind of cigar is that? What's in it? He said, man, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. Suddenly, the room was filled with a cloud of smoke. I asked, did you also learn this one from the ancient? Then he looked at me just as he took another toke. He said, no, I actually learned this one by accident. Then I interrupted Mr. Kim and say, okay, now I see. Mr. Kim said, kid, what the hell are you talking about? I said, that's how you got hooked on smoking weed. He said, you know, that's something I wouldn't doubt. But let me get back to my story. I'm almost done. So let me continue and tell you what happened next. As the men released my wife, she looked stunned. What I just witnessed wasn't in any so-called text. Then he gave my wife some sort of herbal sedative. He said, I gave her much medicine. She must sleep. I asked him, is she all right? Is my wife going to live? He said, no, she was bitten. The poison is too deep. I said, some of the men were also hurt in the brawl. Some of them badly cut. What will happen to them? He said, they weren't bitten. They were just clawed. Only with its bite can it affect you with its venom. As we waited anxiously for the helicopter to arrive, I just sat there asking him questions for a few hours. I said, there must be a way that she can survive. He said, yes, but I do not have that kind of power. He gave me a pouch filled with some sort of tea. He said, give it to her and she'll feel no more pain. I asked, it'll heal her? He said, no. Didn't you hear me? Then I realized what it was. I said, are you insane? Then I grabbed the pouch and I threw it on the floor. I said, you want me to kill my wife, put her to death? He picks it up and then hands it to me once more. He said, only suffering remains. That's all that's left. I don't know if I could do it, guys. There is no cure yet for the evil that resides within. The creature is merely part man and part animal. But man must taste death before this evil can begin. So what is there left to save? If anything, it's the soul. I recorded what I learned from the medicine man, but he too reached a level that he couldn't exceed. I said, how can this be possible? The cure is at hand. He said, there's something else that's eluded me. Mr. Kim said, all the years of research that I've done, I have used many remedies that were originally his. Though I've narrowed the missing link down to one, it took a little kid to help me figure out what it is. Suddenly, our conversation was interrupted again when we heard the chopper high above its shack. It was heading for a safe spot to land near the glen. Then I told him, someday I'm going to come back. And as the helicopter landed, the villagers cheered, and before the medicine man and I said goodbye, he told me, don't tell anyone what happened here. Outsiders would just come and disrupt our paradise. As we were boarded, I vowed to him my secrecy. Then I gave thought as we ascended into the air. How could something so good end in catastrophe? What started as a dream turned into a nightmare. When we landed, I contacted Dr. Ralphie Madrid. Through the years, we had become good friends. I asked him if he could do more than what we did. He said, I have a new treatment that I recommend. I still consider it to be in the experimental phase, but it's highly regarded because it's so advanced. I said, to save my wife, I will do whatever it takes. Experimental phase or not, I must take the chance. He immediately had her body put into an ice bath. He said this will help slow down her metabolic rate, which keeps the infection from spreading too fast. But if she's to live, the infection must be eradicated. Endless hours of testing were done, day after day, and before we knew it, we had been there a week. In that span of time, my wife was dwindling away. She was hooked up to IVs, but nothing solid to eat. One day after testing the blood and tissue samples, Ralphie said, I can't kill the infection. It's too strong. The medicine man was right. Death was inevitable. I wasn't willing to accept it, but I knew it all along. The ice bath worked, but a cure could not be found, and the result of that would leave him in distress. He said, I'm really sorry. I know that I let you down. I said, don't be sorry. God knows you did your best. Then I asked, is it possible to resuscitate my wife? He asked why, then he looked at me and he knew. I said, to tell her that I love her just one more time. He said, yes, of course, but only for a minute or two. But understand, even though she's heavily sedated, if I bring her out too long, she'll have an episode. And if she does, it's possible that she will fibrillate, cardiac arrest may occur, or her heart will explode. His staff took her out of the ice and put her on her bed. Then Ralphie gave my wife a small dose of adrenaline. After coming to, she opened her eyes and said, is it you? Or are you a part of the dream that I was in? I couldn't hold it in anymore as tears started to flow. I just stood there holding her cold body close to me. Then I said, honey. Then she said, honey, don't let me suffer. Let me go. And what I could use right now is some hot tea. You guys know. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Humble himself. I made you a mod because I trust you, and you're here with Lola Denise, so thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys, for the likes. Thank you, guys, so much for being here. I am so grateful. Let me put these 5 minutes before I get ahead of myself. This is getting crazy. Could you imagine if you were married and your spouse got bit by a beast, and then they were your spouse, but they're not really your spouse. And then, dang, do I know how to drink water today? And then to know that you might be the one to kill him. I don't know if I could do it, guys. I almost started crying. I love Russia. Thank you, Russia. Shout out to Russia. Thank you guys for being here. So first, I would like to say thank you. Thank you guys all for being here. I am super, super grateful for you. Welcome to Natalie's Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. We are currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr., which is my father. Next, we are reading Project 369, The Key to the Universe. Please remember, when we read this, please bring a piece of paper and a pen or pencil or a notebook, whatever you guys decide. We will be doing some writing, some journaling. I want you guys to write down some things you're grateful for. Why are you so, wow, you are so beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. I will be watching with you. I will be watching too. Thank you, guys. So talk to me, okay? I'm going to ask you guys. I always say, I hope you guys have a marvelous Monday or a magnificent Monday. Good morning from Dubai. Thank you, thank you. Shout out to Dubai. Throw me any M's. Magnificent Monday, magical Monday, marvelous Monday, motivational Monday. Hello to Tanir. If you do watch the recap or you watch any of this, Tanier. She's Voices of Her. Please go check out her page. She is currently in Monetize May, so she's going to be monetized this May. I am super proud of her. She's doing amazing work. Please check her out. I know her channel, something will resonate with you. Please check out Voices Behind the Wall and Revs Void. They are my favorite. Check out those channels. If you don't get the opportunity to watch my whole live, please watch the last 5 minutes. I would really appreciate if you guys do. Magical, mischievous. I don't know if I want it to be mischievous, but Magical Monday too. We want it to be positive. Terrific Tuesday. Motivational, thank you. Terrific Tuesday. What are other T's? Totally awesome. Remember I had said ticked off Tuesday, but we don't want to be ticked off. We want to be terrific. Everyone always says Taco Tuesday, so I have to say terrific Taco Tuesday. Terrific. What about Wednesday? Wonderful Wednesday. It can't be whatever because it's not whatever. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Thankful Thursday. We're going to have to think of some THs. We'll do that when we journal. Fantastic Friday. Some Fs are fantastic. Fabulous. Fearless Friday. Remember, you guys, to be strong and confident. We can do anything we set our minds to, I promise. And remember, the more you focus on the good, the better the good gets, I promise. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you for the hearts. Super Saturday, that's today. Spectacular Saturday. Stupendous Saturday. It's Monday. Don't forget to be awesome, even if your coffee forgets to kick in. Smile, hustle, and pretend it's Friday. You've got this. One sarcastic sip at a time. Let's roll. Yes, thank you, Zachariah. Let's roll. I am so grateful for you and your comment. I appreciate the positivity. Remember, guys, I always pray for you. I always send you guys good vibes, happiness, love, kindness, positivity. I always want the best for you guys, and I wish the best for you guys every single day. I promise. Right after I pray for me. Thank you guys for being here for Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10. I am not a teacher. But I just want to spread positivity and gratitude because I feel like if you focus on the positive gets better. You guys, I messed up. Zachariah says, believe in yourself even when no one else does. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds greatness. Dreams don't work unless you do. So rise, grind, and make your future unstoppable. Yes, Zachariah, that's what I'm talking about. I messed up by putting that in my mouth. Sorry, guys. Thank you for keeping me in your prayers as well. I'm super, super grateful. All right, you guys, we're going to get started on the next 10 minutes of reading The Alley. Let's get to it. Please remember to be respectful in the chat, you guys. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you for the hearts. And please remember to subscribe. Let's get into it. Then I asked, is it possible to resuscitate my wife? He asked why. Then he looked at me and he knew. I said, to tell her that I love her just one more time. He said, yes, of course, but only for a minute or two. But understand, even though she's heavily sedated, if I bring her out too long, she'll have an episode. And if she does, it's possible that she will fibrillate. Cardiac arrest may occur, or her heart will explode. His staff took her out of the ice and put her on the bed. Ralphie gave my wife a small dose of adrenaline. After coming to, she opened her eyes and said, is it you, or are you part of the dream that I was in? I couldn't hold it in anymore as tears started to flow. I just stood there holding her cold body close to me. Then she said, honey, don't let me suffer. Let me go. And what I could use right now is some hot tea. Then it occurred to me what she was talking about. She said, I too was listening to the medicine man. I know what he had told you concerning the pouch. She looked into my eyes and said, I understand. I asked one of the nurses to prepare the brew. As my wife and I held each other, we both cried. She said, life has been an adventure being with you. I know that you did all you could. I know that you tried. The tea was now ready as I held it within my grip. As my last moment with her, she was rapidly shrinking. Then I kind of panicked as I held the cup to my lips. She said, don't you do it. What are you thinking? I said, I don't want to live without you all by myself. She said, don't worry, you'll always have me near. Promise me to dust off my pictures on the shelf. I smiled and said, I will, as she wiped away my tears. She started shaking. Our time was coming to an end. A nurse wanted to help her, but Ralphie said, wait. My wife grabbed my hand and said, I'll see you again. I'll be the one wearing a smile, standing at the gate. She said, I want you to promise me one more thing, as I reluctantly held the cup of tea up to her mouth. I know finding a cure has always been your dream. Promise me you won't stop until you figure it out. I made her that promise, then I told her, I love you. Sadly, I knew that we only had a few seconds left. She struggled to breathe. Death would be here soon. She whispered, I love you too, with her last breath. Her body was now reacting to the poisoned tea. Tears ran down her face as I looked into her eyes. Then she suddenly closed them and went to sleep. I held for a few seconds, then I kissed her goodbye. Dr. Ralphie saw that I needed a few minutes alone. He said, I'm here to help in whatever you may need. I said, I'm going to need help getting my wife home, and I would appreciate anything you can do for me. I had a funeral. All of our friends and family went, but first I had informed them of how she had died. I told everyone that she died in a traffic accident. The truth was too far-fetched to believe, so I lied. About a month or so later, Dr. Ralphie contacted me. He told me that he had noticed something strange. He said, I have found something I just can't believe. Her tissue had been replaced, somehow changed. What he had just discovered sent chills up my spine. Some sort of weird transformation was taking place. That's why most of the victims had lost their minds. I thought surely it would stop, though, in the grave. He said, what we have just found, we can't dismiss. I said, hold on a second. What are you talking about? He said, come on. We can't just walk away from this. We have to know for sure. We have to dig her out. Though I was reluctant, I knew this had to be done. We would have to involve the authorities, though. We made up a good reason for them to come. He had a friend at the Center for Disease Control. Dr. Ralphie told them that she was under his care and that my wife had died of a bad case of the flu. I just couldn't believe how fast the CDC was there when he said, it's a rare disease or something new. They did all the digging until the casket was clear, and then Ralphie had a little chat with his friend. Then his friend said, okay, you take over from here, after Ralphie secretly slipped him a few Benjamins. We waited until we were all alone in the cemetery. Then we opened the casket and I said, is that her? She had transformed into something really scary. My wife was turning into one of those creatures. Suddenly, I felt lightheaded and then I fell down. What I was looking at hit me like a ton of bricks. I kept looking at this thing as I sat on the ground, and then I told Ralphie, I think I'm going to be sick. Then he helped me to my feet. He too was shaken. I said, get her out, man. So he jumped into the hole. He said, you know, this is quite a risk we're taking. I said, if we hurry up and bury it, no one will know. I could do nothing to help as he got her body out. I was still mending from the broken leg that I had. But Ralphie was a strong young man, big and stout. He could handle it all by himself, but I still felt bad. He said, let's put her body in the back of my van. Now that she's out of the crypt, we'll be on our way. And for a second, I remembered the medicine man. I looked at Ralphie and asked, what did you just say? He repeated it, and suddenly it became clear to me. I was shocked that I hadn't figured this out before. It was there all this time, all throughout its history. There was a metamorphosis that I had ignored. It made sense now of all the victims that had died, but we didn't burn them, we buried the bodies instead. I couldn't figure it out how the beast rematerialized. The infection still lived, though the victim was dead. Suddenly, I remembered the small village again and what the medicine man there had said to me. He was trying to tell me, but I couldn't comprehend. Now I understand only after suffering this tragedy. Then Ralphie said, "So what are we going to do now?" I said, "I'm not sure. I've never had a creature before. We'll have to keep it hidden and study it somehow. Then I guess we have to let nature take its course." Now that we know how the creature is regenerated, we must find out exactly what triggers this effect. There's no official record as to how it was created. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next. We decided to put the corpse in a secluded room, and then Ralphie placed it in an old operating cart, on an old operating cart. Suddenly, I caught a whiff of my wife's perfume. She was wearing it that day. She captured my heart. Ralphie sensed that I was getting a little emotional, maybe because he saw me wipe away my tears. He said, "You need some rest. Why don't you go? And I'll finish whatever needs to be done in here." So I took another look at what used to be my wife. It was so hairy, but it still had some of her features. Honestly, I'd never seen anything like it in all my life. Reality was starting to set in. My wife was a creature. I just stood there looking at it, and I went into a daze. I started thinking of the things that we wanted to do. I was so deep in thought, I just stared into space. Then he asked, "Are you okay? What's wrong with you?" Then I gave thought of all the years on our vacation, in our vacation. Vocation. We had never really experienced a personal attack. We visited many places that had similar situations, and I just realized most of them were after the fact. Though we had our skirmishes and a few close calls, it was always someone else that had been killed. I had my own story now that I could add to them all, now that the blood of my wife had also been spilled. So I pieced together all of the possible similarities, and I already knew that it only happened at night. Also, that the moon attributed to this abnormality and all of the victims that died after receiving its bite. Just then, Mr. H said, "Hey, would you look at that?" as he pointed in the direction of the lower valley. I said, "What do you see? What are you looking at?" He said, "It's in the callejon, or what you call the alley." Mr. Kim asked, "Where's the cemetery? Is it close by? I want to see something, so we will go there first. We'll check the plots of people that recently died. I want to see the full extent of this terrible curse." Mr. H parked on the road in front of the old pantheon. You guys, his wife is a creature. Could you imagine if your spouse turned into a preacher? Jesus. Okay, let me put these first, or let me put these. Oh, dang, I messed up. 5 minutes are on. Thank you guys. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for being here. Hello, everybody. Jake says you're pretty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining me for Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. We are currently on The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr. How is everybody doing today? I hope you're amazing, magnificent, wonderful, stupendous, lovely. I can't get over it. He said, "I'm trying to accept the fact my wife is a creature." I could not imagine it. Thank you so much, Mr. Humble himself, for still being here. I appreciate it. Phoebe says, "This is so relaxing." Thank you. I'm grateful for it. I hope you join me on my other lives, or at least check out the playlist where I read it all. Definitely grateful and thankful. I promise you guys, the more grateful and the more positive you are, the more things to be grateful for will pop into your life. I am a testament to this. I promise. If I could take you on my everyday life and you guys could see what I mean, I could prove it to you. Sorry for being gross. For now, thank you guys for joining me for Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes while spreading positivity and gratitude. I am definitely going to read for 10 more minutes, and then please check out the last 5 minutes, you guys, where I do my shout outs. I would really appreciate it. Thank you to anyone who has watched for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. I am so grateful for you, and I pray for you every day. Jesse says, those braids are your trademark. They might be. They might just be. Next time, I'll let my hair down so you guys can see how long it is. That'll be next live. I'm going to try for next Friday. If not, it'll be the Friday after that for sure. Thank you guys for joining me on this weekend. I'm sure you're either getting rest or getting ready to do something fun tonight. Regardless of what you do, I am sending you happiness, positivity, love, and I'm grateful for you. I'm sending you guys gratitude. Thank you guys for joining me to read The Alley by Mingo Rubio Jr., which is my father. The next book we are reading is Project 369, The Key to the Universe. Please remember, guys, we will need at least a paper and a pen or pencil or a notebook to start that one. I don't think we'll get started writing using the book to write right away, but I would like to get you guys started writing a few things to be grateful for every day. Remember, the more you're grateful for, the more things to be grateful will come into your life. I promise. Thank you, Lala, for handling that. I appreciate all of my lovely leaders, which are my mods. If you are my mod, thank you. You guys are my lovely leaders. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you for handling that. I appreciate it. I really can't see the chat while I'm reading, you guys, so I would just ask that you're being nice and polite to my subscribers. I am really grateful for them, and if you're not one of my subscribers, please don't come in and ruin the fun. We're all about positivity here. Remember, the more you focus on the good the better gets, the better the good gets. I promise I am a testament to that. So please don't come and ruin the fun. I know there's some creeps out there and the trolls are crazy, and I know we're going to deal with some. I get that, but please at least be respectful. Don't be too out of pocket, please. I've been on some lives, some other people's lives, and I get a little crazy. Thank you all for joining me on this Saturday. I know you probably have some other things to do, but I am super, super grateful. Oh, last time I said I was going to show you guys my other tattoo. This is my leg tattoo. I just got it in November. Me and my daughter have matching tattoos for her 16th birthday. That's my daughter and I. Writer for life loves Jesus. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Hi, Ava. You are so pretty too. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Writer for Life Loves Jesus. I love Jesus too, and I am so grateful that he put you in my path. Thank you for sharing that Bible verse with me. I am super grateful for it. I hope everyone is having a spectacular Saturday today. Remember to be here for the last 5 minutes. I'm reading for 10 more minutes. And then check out the last 5 minutes, guys. Please, please, please. Whether you watch it live or you watch the recap, I would really appreciate it. I hope everyone is having a spectacular Saturday and a wonderful weekend. All right, y'all. Let's get into the last 10 minutes of The Alley. And please come back for the last 5 minutes of shout outs. Let's do it. So I pieced together all of the possible similarities, and I already knew that it only happened at night. Also, that the moon attributed to this abnormality, and all of the victims had died after receiving its bite. Just then, Mr. H said, "Hey, would you look at that?" as he pointed in the direction of the lower valley. I said, "What do you see? What are you looking at?" He said, "It's the callejon, or what you call the alley." Mr. Kim asked, "Where's the cemetery? Is it close by?" "I want to see something, so we will go there first. We'll check the plots of people that recently died. I want to see the full extent of this terrible curse." Mr. H parked on the road in front of the old Panteon. Mr. Kim grabbed his bag and started walking around. There were so many plots and so many headstones, and there were a lot of empty holes in the ground. He asked Mr. H, "How well do you know this place?" Mr. H said, "Well enough to take you on a little." Mr. Kim said, "Let's get to it. There's no time to waste. I don't want to be here too long, that's for sure." Mr. H told him the history of the surrounding area, of the aqueduct, the preserve, and of the reservoir, and of the abandoned homes due to the hysteria. There used to be a lot of people living there before. The land behind the reservoir was a wildlife preserve. It was huge. It actually covered over 100 square miles. It had so much wildlife that people could observe, sort of like the Everglades, from birds to reptiles. But that too was abandoned, and the town let it go. People used to go there to hang out and relax. And then all of a sudden, things got out of control. Tourists had gone in there, but never came back. Mr. Kim looked around, then he removed his hat. He nodded and said, "It makes perfect sense to me." He said, "It's at home, living in its natural habitat. It has shelter, water to drink, and plenty to eat. But once it tastes humans, it'll want nothing else. One thing is certain, though, this will not go away. When will this happen again? I don't know myself, but sooner or later, it will search for more prey." He turned and looked in the direction of the aqueduct. As he looked it over, he kind of marveled at its size. He said, "This is a big task we are about to conduct. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know about you guys." Mr. H's tour took us to the far edges of the alley. Then we noticed long shadows starting to appear. We went back to the cemetery down in the valley. When we got there, Mr. H said, "I don't like it here." Mr. Kim said, "I need your attention for a moment." He said, "We've got to split up, but don't go too far." After a few minutes, I get that familiar scent. Then I saw Mr. Kim walking back with a big fat cigar. I said, "Hey man, do you have another one of those?" He said, "Are you serious? You must think I'm crazy. Besides, I think you're a little too young to smoke." I said, "Oh, but it was okay when you hypnotized me." Mr. H walked ahead. Then he turned to find the sun. I had to cover my nose. The stench was so bad. He stopped at a grave and said, "This is the one." He said, "Hey kid, this is where I buried your dad." I rushed over to where he was. I just had to see. When I got there, Mr. Kim was also at the grave site. As soon as I looked at it, I said, "My God, it's empty." Then Mr. Kim said, "Sometimes I hate being right." I said, "I can't stand the smell, man. I've had enough. Besides, we've got to go to the alley. It's getting late." And getting through the gate was going to be tough. Then Mr. H said, "Not really, kid. I can open that gate." Standing at the entrance, we looked up at the sky. We were looking to see the position of the sun. I said, "Man, this place sure looks different at night." I looked at them and said, "I hope you guys can run." As Mr. H took out his key to open the rusty lock, suddenly we heard a noise that shook our souls. We were so frightened right then we couldn't talk. As I started to ask, they both said, "I don't know." All of a sudden, we saw what had made the noise. Mr. Kim said, "It's an old alley cat with a broken leg." Then I said, "Come on, we're burning daylight, boys. You know the saying, the last one in is a rotten egg." As Mr. H opened the gate, I asked, "You have a key?" He said, "Remember, kid, I was the one that gated it. And when I chained it and locked it, I kept a copy. But honestly, this is not what I had anticipated." As we were going in, something caught my eye. I took a step back so I could confirm what I saw. It was the moon coming up over a darkening sky as they just stood there looking at the alley walls. Mr. Kim also saw the moon, and he said, "Oh, crap." Mr. H asked, "So what's up? What are you going to do?" He looked at the walls and said, "This could be a trap. If you can't outrun the damn thing, you're screwed." Mr. Kim reached into his bag and pulls out a gun. He said, "Let's hurry up. We're running out of time." It was getting dark. We could no longer see the sun. Mr. H said, "Man, we've got to be out of our minds." We started our trek into the alley, but we took it slow. Then we came to the place where it started to bend. Mr. Kim said, "Hey, kid, how much further does it go?" I said, "Probably about 20 yards or so to the end." Then we passed the old refrigerator where I was at. Suddenly, we heard a loud commotion in the debris. We were relieved to see that it was another cat. Then Mr. H said, "Man, that scared the hell out of me." Mr. Kim reached into his bag and pulled out a light. It was getting dark and we still had a ways to go. Mr. H said, "I think we should be heading back, right?" Mr. Kim said, "No, not yet, man. We're just too close." Then I said, "Hey there it is behind the railroad ties. That's where I was when I noticed the metal crate." But there was something on it covered with flies. We took off the lid and decided to listen and wait. We stood there listening for any kind of sound, but after a minute, Mr. Kim said, "I think it's clear." Then he said, "Pete, you and I will be going down." He said, "Kid, it's too dangerous. You stay up here." I said, "You've got to be joking, right? I'll be damned. I've got a better chance than the both of you have." Mr. Kim said, "So you're coming?" I said, "You bet I am. Somebody's got to watch your ass." And he just laughed. As we went down into the hole, humidity filled the air. Mr. Kim led the way with the flashlight in his hand, and the stench of death and decay was everywhere. In the tunnel, it was very confined, too low to stand. It reminded me of an escape tunnel from prison, the kind that you've seen in the movies, of course. Suddenly, Mr. Kim told us to keep quiet and listen. Then we heard sounds ahead in a small corridor. We also noticed a glimmering light. You guys, how long have I been reading? I didn't set the timer. I can't believe I messed up, you guys. Who knows how long it's been? Anyone guess? Hi, voices behind the wall. No, I just put that 4 there. It wasn't there. It was 00. 62, 5. Okay, I think it's 3 more minutes. We'll do 4 more minutes. Sorry, guys. That's the first time that's ever happened. Thank you, voices behind the wall, for being here. I shouted you out earlier. If you haven't followed her page, please do. 4 more minutes, okay? Here we go. I hope it's on. Is it blinking? There we go. As we went down into the hole, humidity filled the air. Mr. Kim led the way with the flashlight in his hand, and the stench of death and decay was everywhere. In the tunnel, it was very confined, too low to stand. It reminded me of an escape tunnel from prison, the kind that you see in the movies, of course. Suddenly, Mr. Kim told us to keep quiet and listen. Then we heard sounds ahead in a small corridor. We also noticed a glimmering light, a small glow. Then we got to some kind of chamber, a big room. It was a collection point where all of the water flowed, and the glow we saw was a reflection of the moon. That was a chamber where all of the tunnels met, and inside it was some sort of foggy mist or cloud. There were pools of water, so the ground was wet, and any sound made was echoed and very loud. There were pools of water, so the ground was wet, and any sound made was echoed and very loud. What we had heard was water trickling into a pool. I said, "The reflection has to be coming from outside." Then I saw the chamber. I said, "This place is cool. I bet you this is where the creature comes to hide." Then I noticed a structure rising up from the floor. I said, "Look up there, guys. Is that some sort of perch?" "It's pretty high. What do you think it was used for?" Mr. Kim looked up at it and then continued his search. Then he said, "This place would make a perfect lair." We looked around and the room was a little hazy. Then I said, "What's at the bottom? Are those stairs?" Mr. H said, "We should get it out of here. This is crazy." Mr. Kim said, We will after we see where they go." I said, "Let me go." Then Mr. H said, "No, it's too risky." Mr. Kim said, "Go and check it out and let me know." I said, "I'll be right back, so don't leave without me." So I made my way down the stairs to investigate. When I got there, I followed them a short distance. They actually went outside to another metal grate, As I got to the top, I saw hair around the entrance. Then I realized that could be the hair of the beast. As I stood there at the grate, I could see the moon. It had fully come up over the horizon in the east, and the higher it got, the more it lit up the room. I stood there for a few minutes surveying the land, just checking out a place that I have never been. I looked at everything like I was thinking of a plan. I thought, I just might have to come out here again. I noticed a lot of trash around. It was everywhere. I guess it washed up there when the water got low. It looks like homeless people used to live there. How the trash actually got there, I really didn't know. It looked like the opening was used to go in or out. The grate was bent, but the hinges weren't broken. Whatever used the place would return, no doubt. And if so, I didn't want to stay out there in the open. So I made my way to some sort of embankment. Then I noticed that it was a wooden dock or pier. I was kind of curious as to how far it actually went. I decided to get a closer look at it since I was there. The dock stretched over a small part of the pond. It looked awesome over the water in a strange way. The place became a death trap before too long. I could imagine how beautiful it was back in the day. I was standing on the edge of the wildlife preserve, something that had been well planned and revered. It was kind of crazy how fate threw you a nasty curve, but now abandoned and a place people feared. Oh my gosh, you guys. I cannot believe I forgot to set the timer. That has never happened this entire time. But I am so grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for Natalie's Book Club, where I talk for 5 minutes and I read for 10 minutes while spreading positivity and gratitude. Thank you guys so, so, so much for the likes. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Voices Behind the Wall. Thank you, Mr. Humble himself. It happens. Oh, well, I'll fix it next time. I'll double check that I set the timer next time. But thank you guys for joining me on my live today. I am super, super grateful. It is time for my shout outs. If you have not watched or you come back, please remember to watch the end. So much thank you for joining me for Not With the Club, or I don't know what that means, but thank you guys for joining me on my live. I am super grateful for you guys. Before I start the shout outs, I want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend. I am sending you lots of love, positivity, happiness, kindness, respect, because everybody deserves it, and positivity. I wish only the best for you, and I pray for you every single day. I hope everyone has a super Sunday fun day, a marvelous Monday, a terrific Taco Tuesday, a wonderful Wednesday, a thankful Thursday, a fantastic Friday, a stupendous Saturday, and a super Sunday fun day. Remember, you guys, the more you focus on the good, the better the good gets. I promise. I promise, I promise, I promise. And I know it's hard. I know everybody has bad days, but don't let one moment don't let one moment define your whole day. Take a deep breath. Take a minute, 1 minute, 60 seconds if you have to. If you really have to set a timer, do it. Take that 60 seconds for yourself to reset, clear your mind, take a deep breath, be grateful, and move forward with positivity. All right. My shout outs today, remember, these are in no particular order except for the first one. The first one, thank you, God. Always God is first. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to Mother Earth. Thank you to my family. Thank you to my daughter, my mom, my dad. I am so grateful for you guys. Thank you to my sister. I am so grateful that you popped in here. Say hello to my nieces. Hello, hello. Thank you guys. Please check out Voices Behind the Wall, Voices of Her, and Rev's Void. Check out those pages. Please let them know that I sent you. And these are in no specific order, so don't come for me, okay? Lala, Denise, and Mr. Humble himself, thank you guys for being lovely leaders. Thank you guys for taking care of the chat while I was reading. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ken Dowler. Thank you, Stephen Nett. If you're not home yet, I hope you have a safe trip home. Let me know when you get here. Jesse Torres, Mr. Humble himself. Armando Mata, Carl in Tennessee. Soldier of Christ, thank you. Bryson, Paul in the East Coast, Ricky Beaver, and again, Revs Void, Lala Denise, Voices of Her, and Voices Behind the Wall. Thank you guys so much. I am super grateful. You have no idea. Please comment on any of my videos and let me know how you're doing so I can send you some extra good vibes. I hope everyone has a good evening, good night, good day, wherever you guys are. Absolutely, and prayers. Have a blessed and more importantly, safe weekend. Thank you guys. Please stay safe out there. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. And thank you, YouTube.